I am now ready to get back into the DGN file I created earlier, and to do so I'm going to look for my sample track bridge.dgn. The icon looks like that for the PowerDraft files. Likewise, I could have opened up PowerDraft and did a file open and browsed to the location as well. Now that we're back into the file, I noticed that a lot of the toolbox features that I brought in are where I left them. I have my scroll bars, and my preferences that I had from my last save settings are where they are to start with, which is good. Now what I'd like to show is demonstrate a little bit what we have as far as the working area to draw with and what we'll eventually get into for our design file. For starters, I'd like to set my grid reference points here, these boxes, to be in units of 10-inch boxes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 by 10 in order to help me when I start laying out my lines. Now to do that, I need to go into settings, design file, and then I want to check on the grid box, and I want to set my grid master to 1, which will mean that between each of those small dots is 1 inch, and then the boxes will be 10 inches. And as you see, just by selecting that, it zoomed way out. I'm going to zoom back in with the wheel, let go of the pan button, and to see if I truly did create a 10-inch space, I want to go ahead and show you how to draw a line feature. There's a couple places where I could do that. I can go to this line button I have here, which is the same as this one from the toolbar I brought in. I'll go ahead and use the one from the drawing element. It says place line, so I do a data click there, and you'll notice anytime you punch a toolbox or a tool button, it'll show that that box is selected, and a lot of times it'll pull up an auxiliary command toolbox, which helps, gives additional information you can use for that tool. In this instance, I want to specify that my line is 10 inches long, and for right now we'll even say that I want it to be 0 degrees. Now also, anytime you punch a tool, as you can see, I'm dragging this line in the file right now. And also, I'd like to point out that anytime you press a tool down, if you look at the bottom left of the screen, it'll give you some tips as well. So it says I got the place command line pressed, and it says identify the start of the line. Well, I am going to just go ahead and drag it, snap it right there, and that shows that my line was placed at right there. If I wanted to double check to see that what the measurement or the dimension of that line was, I can do a measure the length here in the measuring tools. I want to measure the length of the item, so it tells me identify the element and measure length. So I'm going to hover over it. I could tentative snap, which for me is the middle button. It shows it highlighted. Didn't do anything yet. And then when I do a left click, it shows the length here, which is 10 inches. So my units are still right. And down here it says I have a length of 10 inches and 0 degrees. So this is just a 10-inch line here, but I want to show you what kind of a drawing space you do have to work with. If I go to my zoom and view buttons, which are all located in the top left hand corner here, and I do a zoom out, as you can see, I can zoom all the way out to where that 10-inch line is just a little speck. To give some perspective on that, I'll go ahead and draw another line when my command starts prompts here, I don't want to specify the length, I don't have to, or the angle. It says identify the start of the line. If I select it there and drag, I can draw it at 90 degrees with my AccuDraw there, or I'll just draw it long like that. Now, I didn't specify a length for this line, so I'm going to double check and see how long the line is. So I'm going to do a measure length again, and then just hovering over it highlighted at this time, so I'm just going to do a data pointer, a left mouse button. And as you can see, the length here is 6,287,000 inches. So that's quite a bit bigger than 10 inches, and you know, for what we do at MDOT, you know, we can design projects that are miles long, or for the instance of our bridge design here, we can design things to scale and view which are only inches long. If you got zoomed way out even further, we could have got a lot bigger than that. I do want to show this thing's telling us how we're zooming, the ratio. But if you ever get caught out of a screen and you want to get back to the area where you were working at, one of these view tools which helps is the Fit View tool, which is basically, it looks like the computer screen with the two arrows pointing towards the width and the height. If I click that, it automatically will zoom my drawing screen down to include every element that was drawn within the file. So in this instance, I had my 6 million inch line right here, and then I had my 10-inch line, which is closer to what I'll be working with. So in actuality, I want to get rid of this bigger line because I don't need that big of an area. And to do that, I'm going to use the delete function, which is the red X, delete element. I click on that, and it's pushed down. It says delete element, identify the element. I'm going to highlight the element, click it, and then I eliminated it. Now, one tip I'd like to mention here, especially when you're deleting, is after you delete the element you want to do, or when you're done using the tool you want to, it's good to do a reset button with your mouse, which in my case is a right. And just by doing that, it'll keep you from, sometimes I even like to come in and do an element selection because that won't hurt any elements I've drawn. That way I know I will not keep the delete button pushed in this case and delete other things later down the road that I don't want to. So I deleted the big element that I didn't want, and when I zoom back in and do a fit view, it zoomed all the way down into my 10-inch line that I have there. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit more. Likewise, you can zoom in with the regular, button there to zoom in. Sometimes I like to use this area to zoom the window area where I can actually drag a box and it'll pull me into that area. There's my 10-inch line. So one last thing I want to show in here in the drawing view to help get me set for my sample bridge drawing is I want to create a border that'll, when I print it out, I can snap on it and create a good printout for my bridge. And what I found for the size of bridge I'm going to be working with, I found if I print a border of 40 inches wide by 50 inches long, that size rectangle, I can fit everything I need on this sheet and come out with a good printout. Now, you may find for your problem that you need a different size, or you may need multiple sheets. But what I'm going to do here, just to kind of zoom in or reference key in on the area of the drawing I'm going to be working in, is I'm going to draw my border now. And to do that, I'm just going to place a rectangle or place a block. So I'm going to data point on that. It says enter the first point. I'm going to see if my snaps will work here on the grid, which it does not quite. And to fix that, I'm going to go back into my grid settings here. There's something I forgot to set that I'm going to fix right now. I'm going to check this grid lock box. Now I'm only going to need this temporarily, just because I want to place my box, directly on, these defined areas here. Eventually I'm going to want to turn that off, and I'm going to click OK for now. And what that grid lock means is that it'll only draw lines or elements at, one of these dots. It won't allow me to put one in between. So to do my border, I'm going to do my block again, and I'm just going to hold right the intersection there, tentative snap with my middle button, and then I'm going to drag my rectangle 1, 2, 3, 4 wide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I snap there, oh, I can tell I snapped one too low. Now if I do a fit view, I should be zoomed into an area that's 40 inches wide by 50 inches tall. And now that I'm at the point where I'm ready to start working on my file later, I'm going to go ahead and do another file, save settings. And by doing that, when I close this file down later, when I get back into it, my view is going to be exactly like this, and all my tool features and settings will be like I had it before. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close out of the file, and I'll save change.